I, female, 28, got married right out of college at the age of 22. My husband, Tommy, male, 28, has been nothing but good to me and our relationship is super strong. My sister, Erica, female, 24, to put it lightly, is the polar opposite of that. She has been dating the same guy, Pete, since she was 16 and their relationship was terrible from the start. Pete was pretty useless right from the get-go. He didn't have any plans, and it was obvious that he was simply dating my sister for, well, sex. When he wasn't sneaking over to our house, Pete used to hang around the corner doing God knows what. A few of my friends who are around Erica's age told me that he was even arrested for dealing drugs once, but let off due to lack of evidence. Apart from being a sketchy guy, Pete is involved with a bunch of super hardcore online groups where all they do is spread hate. I never liked him, and neither did my parents. However, no matter what we tried to do, Erica always found her way back to him. I think the fact that we were so against him made him more appealing. Forbidden fruit tastes the sweetest, if you know what I mean. She was smitten with this guy, and whenever I saw her IG stories with this loser, I felt like socking him in the face. Erica had been pretty decent kid and lovely younger sister, but Pete's influence on her was immediately noticeable. She used to change up her style every week to fit in with whatever Pete was into. She started spreading random conspiracy theories and straight up hateful stereotypes at the dinner table, and while we never knew for sure, I think she dabbled in drugs as well. No matter what we tried, she was stuck with this dude. There was only so much we could do, right? Erica had to make her own decisions, and eventually I stopped focusing on her train wreck of a life and really hunkered down in college. When we got engaged, Tommy was willing to have a simple court wedding, but I always had a picture in my head of what my wedding should look like and wanted to realize that. My mom and dad, upon hearing of my engagement, were super excited. They had known Tommy since high school and knew he was a great guy. Without even breaching the topic myself, my mom agreed immediately to pay for my wedding, saying that she wanted it to be the best day of my life. I was super excited, and we spent around 4 months planning the perfect wedding, booking the venue and selecting decor. Mom and Dad had paid the booking amount and deposits at every single step and were going to transfer the full amount for final invoices in around 1 to 2 months. I was blown away by the kind of generosity my parents were showering on me, and because they were helping out in full as opposed to just chipping in, our wedding was going to be amazing. But a month before the day of the wedding, I suddenly got a call from our caterer saying the amount they were due hadn't been sent yet. Then the photographer, then the venue. I was a little confused as I just called my mom yesterday and we were happily discussing how things would go at the wedding. I called her and casually said, "Hey, Mom, I think you might have forgotten to send over the payments to a few places. Is everything okay? Did it slip your mind? If you want, I can teach you to PayPal them, maybe." From behind, I heard some hushed whispering, and then Mom responded by saying, OP, something has come up. Yesterday we found out that your sister, well, she's pregnant with Pete's kid. Your father and I wanted to get married, and she's agreed to it if we pay for the whole thing. We don't want her to have a kid with someone she's not married to. I was shocked on so many levels. Firstly, did they mean that Erica would hijack my wedding? Second, why did she have to marry Pete? I get that my parents were a bit conservative, but this marriage would lock Erica in with that no good deadbeat. With all of this swirling in my mind, I said, "Mom, I can't back out of the payments now, and come on, you know that Pete's not the right guy for Erica. Why would you do this?" Sensing some hostility, my mom said, "I know it's not ideal, but you need to suck it up. We didn't want this either, but we think this is best for Erica. People will say things if she doesn't marry and has a kid. And listen, we'll just use your venue and stuff for her wedding. The earlier we get it done, the better. You can always postpone and get it done later, right? Court weddings aren't that bad, dear. Or you could come to Erica's wedding. That would still be an amazing experience. Or maybe we could do a double wed." I was too angry to speak, and I told her how unfair this was. I put in months of work to plan this wedding, and all of a sudden, it was being given away to Erica. I didn't want a damn double wedding, and ideally, I didn't want my sister to marry a loser. I told her that if this wedding went through, she and Dad wouldn't be welcome at my apartment, nor would I make any contact with them. Then I cut the call. I spoke to Tommy about it, and he felt like my parents had completely blindsided us. While he was being more diplomatic than me, he also felt like it was fair to go NC over this. And with my parents' insistence on switching the wedding over to Erica, we did. It was super humiliating to explain to Tommy's family, but they were understanding enough. We ended up having a small court wedding, but thankfully, I did get to have the wedding, vow renewal technically, of my dreams just last year. As for Erica, Pete, and my parents, I didn't know a lot about what they'd been up to. I knew that Erica was working at Dad's company and that Pete was unemployed. That's it. I didn't know anything about my nephew Randall either, except the pics I saw of him on social media. That is until last week when the lawyer called me on behalf of my parents, asking me to testify as to Erica's unstable character as she had sued my dad for wrongful termination. It honestly sounds like a mess, and I had no idea how my testimony would help, but I told the lawyer I'd get back to him later. Honestly, I'm torn on this. On one hand, I'm curious AF about what happened, but on the other, I don't want to take part in any more family drama. WIBTA if I just decline to intervene? Update 1. Okay, so after the lawyer's call, my dad also got a hold of my number. This was our first phone call in 6 years, but he didn't even acknowledge that at all. But I did get filled in on the lawsuit and got a little more insight into what life was like at my household after I went NC. Erica had been working at Dad's company without any problem for about 4 years, but never really rose the ranks. Dad didn't want to engage in nepotism, so she couldn't really do anything about it except work hard. Pete never held down a job, but eventually started bugging Dad to get him a job too, and he promptly declined. He had no goodwill towards the dude who had knocked up his daughter. In the last couple of years, though, a lot of people had begun to feel uncomfortable around Erica because she was making a lot of strange comments about forced diversity hires and stuff like that. Basically being racist like Pete. Since she was the boss's daughter, nobody ever said anything to her face, but it got to the point when nobody could deny that she was being a terrible employee. This all came to a head when someone at Dad's company made an Instagram post about the terrible working conditions there, and while not mentioning her by name, definitely targeted Erica in his post. Then he promptly resigned. All hell broke loose, obviously, and Dad couldn't keep sweeping Erica's behavior under the rug. He had to fire her, and she was desperate to keep the job since Pete was unemployed. So, with the help of some scummy lawyer, Erica is now claiming that she was terminated for expressing her freedom of speech. It's not a great case, but due to the IG post, Dad wants to end this shit show as quickly as possible. Pete was also butting in and getting his internet friends to constantly mess with reviews and media for Dad's business. Apparently, if I was able to testify about Erica's crappy behavior when we were teens, his lawyer could establish a pattern and prove that what Erica claims to be freedom of speech actually goes against HR guidelines. After he was done spilling all of this, I calmly asked why I should bother helping him, and to that, he had no answer. I told him I'd think about it, as I said to his lawyer, and I cut the call. I'm still conflicted, to be honest. Erica probably deserves to be fired, but I don't see why I need to involve myself in my family drama all over again. It isn't my priority in life right now, and I should honestly just drop it. In the 6 years of NC, I still kept in touch with my extended family, and they are well aware of this court case. Half of them think I shouldn't bother, and the other half think that I should just help out once and then establish my boundaries again. Update 2. Okay, the case got settled out of court. I'm not exactly sure what has happened, but I guess the decision has been made for me, LOL. The more I thought about it and discussed it with people who weren't family, though, the more I thought that it was best that I didn't get involved. I genuinely feel like it would just disturb my peace. Update 3. Guys, I found out why the case got settled. I was talking to my cousin recently, and he told me about how Erica hit the jackpot. I was curious and asked him what he meant, and he said that my mom and dad were just playing Erica. Each month they just sent her money, and that was why she dropped the case. I'm genuinely laughing at the absurdity of supporting a 24-year-old woman and her husband, and my parents definitely got what they deserved in this deal. Why WBTA, in my opinion? I feel like this goes beyond your dad and your relationship with him and falls more on doing the right thing by the employees. If the company gets embroiled in controversy, a lot of good people might get into trouble. NTA, it's clear your dad fired her due to public opinion and is not trying to end the court case due to public opinion. It doesn't seem like he cares about his employees at all, and you help out in this way is unlikely to change things. And just embroils you in family craziness. Girl, you left that behind. Keep it there. Next story. I, 25, female, and my ex, 28, male, have a 2-year-old son together. Our son was born with a birth defect that required surgery last year, which resulted in a week at the hospital to recover and a month of recovery at home. While at the hospital, I would get constant calls and texts 24/7 from my ex asking for updates, which is a normal thing to ask. However, every time I would tell him, his response always led to yelling at me for not telling him sooner, even if whatever it was had just happened. His thought was that the second I heard a slight change, I should be immediately calling him. I never waited longer than a full day to update him. However, the calls and texts from him were becoming extremely exhausting. Not to mention I was extremely depressed and overwhelmed during this time. What frustrated me the most was he never made a single attempt to come up to the hospital or even see him after. It's been a year since then, and due to the damage from the birth defect, our son needs another surgery with the same recovery time. Not once did my ex ever go to any doctor's appointments, testing, etc., but would consistently berate me if I did not call him immediately to tell him every detail. So yesterday, I went to pick my son up at his grandmom's, ex's mom's house, and when seeing my ex, I reminded him of our son's surgery coming up soon. His first response was that I looked confused, so I explained if he wanted to know what's going on, he could go to the hospital and ask the doctors himself. He got angry and started yelling, but I just took my son and went home. Now I've gotten a ton of messages from him saying that I'm the AH and denying him access to his child. But I'm tired of being the messenger. AITA? Edit. I should also add that I'm a full-time single mom. We never married and have no custody arrangement. I have him 7 days a week, 24/7, along with working 2 jobs and going to college online. Just taking 2 weeks off of work for both jobs is already a huge financial stress that I can't afford to make, but I have no choice. I also receive no financial help from him whatsoever. Update. Thank you so much to everyone who gave me much needed advice. Thankfully, the surgery with my son went well, and we are finally back home. My ex continued to throw a fit the whole time we were there. He even tried telling his mom I was ignoring him when I was sending him a message once a day. Instead of responding to his behavior, I have been looking up lawyers that specialize in child support that won't break the bank. Thank you again to everyone for the support for my son's recovery and for all the advice. NTA, you are not denying him access to his child, but in the end, it's not about your child at all. He's upset because it's about control over you. No amount of time would have been fast enough because he sounds like his only objective was to berate you. If it was about his son, he would have shown up for anything, even once, but especially the surgeries. WTF, this right here. X has the audacity to complain about denying access to his child when OPs told him he needs to make an effort to be involved and show up to the hospital and his doctor's appointments, etc. Oh, Pete, you've established your boundary. Please stick with it. X can either wait for updates when you're ready to provide them, or he can actually become involved. I can see why he's an X. NTA at all. Next story. I, 24, male, have recently got into an argument with my brother, 26, male, and my twin, 24, male, about our father bringing his current girlfriend to family events, outings, etc. To preface, my parents got divorced almost 2 years ago. This was after 6 years of sleeping in different rooms and 2 years of having separate houses. My brothers and I always agreed to stay out of their relationship problems ever since we were young because we knew what was inevitably the outcome and we didn't want to choose sides. By the time they divorced, we were all adults and either out of college or about to be. We became involved, however, after it was revealed that our father had cheated on our mother for the entirety of those 8 years. We had our suspicions since our mother constantly talked about a woman she didn't like from our father's work that he would constantly spend time with, but we never knew it was actually happening until our uncle, who worked with our father, told our whole family. Afterwards, we rallied on our mother's side of the situation and agreed that we couldn't forgive our father for this. It's been 2 years since the divorce, and although I expected feelings to change, I didn't think they would end up as they are so quickly. About 2 months ago, my mother started seeing a man that she's been getting serious with. Both of my brothers have met him, but I have not. Despite this, I think he's a great guy, and he makes our mother happy, and my brothers share these feelings. Then our father asked us if we would be comfortable with him bringing his girlfriend, the same woman he cheated on our mother with, to family gatherings and events. I asked my brothers what they thought, stating that I wasn't comfortable with it, and they both agreed that it may not be ideal, but that we should get to know her since we've gotten to know our mother's boyfriend. I understand where they're coming from, considering that both our parents have significant others now, and me accepting one but not the other could be playing favorites. But I believe there are differentiating circumstances at play. While I agree our father should be happy, regardless of what I think about his character, I don't agree that his girlfriend should receive the same treatment as our mother's boyfriend, considering the fact that my mother didn't cheat on our father with said boyfriend for 8 years. My brothers don't see it this way, and instead have called me childish for not moving on. While I understand I may be seen as immature, I cannot see how my brothers think these significant others are on an equal playing field. Edit. I've been asked for the details of my parents' separation. The reason my parents started sleeping in separate rooms in the first place was because my mother had seen a message from the woman on my father's phone. When she confronted him about it, he told her that he hadn't felt attracted to her for a long time. That's when they started sleeping in different rooms. The reason they didn't start the divorce process was partly due to financial issues, but mainly due to the fact that my mother was still in love with my father and wanted things to work out, despite the affair. They went to couples therapy and he promised her he would keep trying to make things work. However, he was still seeing this woman even whilst attending therapy. My mother told me and my brothers all this after they had started finalizing the divorce. As for how my mother feels now, it was only a few days ago that my mother and father sat down to talk about possibly seeing each other's new partners, but she said she won't cause a scene trying to get her banned from the family events for her kids' sake, but that she doesn't ever want to meet her personally. They have both told me and my brothers it's up to us to decide how we feel about it. NTA, your father did something deeply hurtful to your mom, and anyone who expects her to be in the same room with the other person involved in that is being unfair. It doesn't matter if she's got a new boyfriend. It doesn't undo what sounds like years of hurt. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.